Thinking about moving to Vero Beach? Well, pump those brakes, because don't move here unless you can handle these 8 negatives. We're going over those right now. So what's going on, everyone? My name is Andrew Pench. I'm a local realtor down here in beautiful Vero Beach, Florida. If you're looking for a channel that goes over how to live, eat, sleep, play, boat, and fish anywhere on the Florida East Coast, then tap that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified every single Friday when I upload a new video. I'm getting calls from people every single day, and I love it. So if you have any questions or any concerns about moving over here or relocating down here to Florida, then give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, because I'll have your back when moving to the Florida East Coast. Alright guys, so now it's time to jump in the video about these 8 negatives that you need to know before relocating over here to Vero Beach. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and dive into it, and let's start off with number 8. And number 8 is going to be, just because Vero Beach is in the south does not necessarily mean Southern hospitality lives here. So as I've mentioned before in previous videos, Florida is definitely a melting pot from people all over the United States and sometimes all over the world. Vero Beach is no exception to that. We have a lot of people from up north relocating down here, from New York, New Jersey, sometimes over out west in California. We have a lot of people and family in Massachusetts. The ongoing joke about Florida is the further south you go, the further north you're getting up in the United States. So yes, that is true. Vero Beach is not an exception. It's a destination for a lot of people when they're looking to retire and come down here. And so with that, and with everyone coming down here, just because Florida's in the south doesn't mean it's going to have that Louisiana, Alabama, or maybe even that Florida Panhandle, the Florida Bama, as they like to say, type of feel, type of hospitality. A few more things touching on the same point. Customer service around restaurants has really been lacking and slacking lately. I'm sure that's the story for a lot of different places, because ever since COVID hit, people feel like they don't need to work. They've been getting their free money, their free stimulus money, and I just see a lot more entitlement when it comes to the service industry. Now I can talk like that because my entire background has been in the service industry. I owned a restaurant for about 4 years up in Orlando, and before owning the restaurant, I was in the restaurant industry. I started from bussing, then serving, waiting, all those type of things. Did bartending for a little bit whenever I was over there too. So I know what it's like. I know it's not the best industry to get into, but it can be good money. But right now, a lot of people are just feeling like they don't want to work in those types of jobs, in those environments anymore, which is understandable coming from that background. That's why I left. I originally left. COVID just killed our restaurant business. So we ended up selling, moving back down here to where I'm from, and now operating as a realtor here, and absolutely love it. One last thing that I wanted to talk about whenever still regarding this subject about the Southern hospitality is that Vero Beach, I like to consider it more of the Hamptons of Florida. So we're a little bit smaller, we're a lot more niche with our with who we allow in. We don't have the big commercial, big box stores like the Costco's and the Whole Foods, but we do have a lot of higher end, smaller family owned grocery stores, restaurants, and our beachside and up and down A1A is absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of gated communities where you'll see big ginormous houses owned by billionaires sitting right there in the waterfront. I've seen houses sell as high as $27 million. There's one listed right now that's on the water for $27 million. So yes, we have those types of places. We have those big budget, you know, no budget actually type of homes that people can buy from. And with that, you get areas like Johns Island where everything is $2, $3, $4 million plus homes sitting on a private island. I think maybe even the owner of Facebook and Adam Sandler and everyone, there might be places like that, and I think the rumors are going around that they're going to be moving over here. I know this, my mom actually works at a country club here in Vero Beach called Quail Valley, and has heard rumors of that too. So this really is a destination for millionaires and billionaires here in Vero Beach, but don't let that scare you away. We still have a lot of nicer homes in the $300,000 to $350,000 range. You can get new construction here still for a little over $300,000 and still be sitting on about 1/4 of an acre, not an HOA. You can be in an HOA for that neighborhood, but maybe you're going to be paying, or for that price range, but you're going to be paying a little bit higher fees to do so. So we have a good mixture, like I was saying before, of millionaires and billionaires and blue collar workers, younger families, just like me and my wife and our 2 dogs and everything. We're perfectly happy here. We love it where we are, but you just have that big, it's 2 different worlds. You go over the bridge and you see the way that they live their life over the bridge, and when you come over the bridge here to the west side, it's a 2 totally different lifestyle places to have. I prefer being on the west side of the bridge, honestly. I want a little bit more land. I want more room to roam around. I know I'm in an HOA now here, but I do plan on building in about 1 acre, 2 acres plus here in the near future. So now let me go ahead and jump into my number 7 reason of the 8 negatives you should know about before moving here to Vero Beach, and that is, of course, everyone knows, everyone's done the research, the humidity and the heat here can be pretty brutal. So Vero Beach is kind of where the tropics begin. Whenever you start up in North Florida and you get down on the East Coast, right here in Vero Beach, they like to call it where the tropics begin. So tropical weather, more humidity, more or less of seasons that you'll start to notice. I know when I was up in Orlando, the winters got really cold. Here in Vero Beach, it doesn't really get below 55, maybe even 40 degrees, I think has been the lowest I've really seen here in Vero. Getting below that is very rare, and honestly, when it does stoop that low, I would say in the 55 degree range, it'll only last a couple days or so. So it really is summer here year round. Outside, I believe it's in the mid 70s right now. You're going to be seeing a lot of decorations of Santa Claus sitting in his board shorts, holding a surfboard, and maybe even a Hawaiian shirt on, just hanging out, and that'll be the norm. Another thing you'll notice is palm trees being wrapped around in Christmas lights. So if that's a lifestyle that you want to live year round, I know a lot of people that are coming down from up north, they enjoy having that type of Christmas. But if you want to move here and make that lifestyle year round, especially down in the summer, it gets really hot, then Florida might be your place. But just remember, you're going to get smacked in the mouth with humidity if you're moving out of maybe the Midwest. So if you're coming from maybe the California area, I know that's not the Midwest, but I'm just kind of going from west to east. So the Las Vegas area, anywhere where it's kind of deserty over there, you're going to get absolutely smacked in the mouth with humidity here in Florida, and it's going to take a while. It's honestly going to take a while for you to get used to it. Ladies, your hair is going to get a little bit frizzier. Guys, not judging, but if you have the longer hair, it's going to be frizzier. You're going to have to be using a lot more product to kind of keep it together. And honestly, I think the humidity does help skin problems, but with that also maybe a couple of allergy issues. So the air is thicker here. If you have asthma, I know I have asthma, I have to use my inhaler. I've got the guy right here. So I've noticed whenever I go to less humid areas, my asthma gets a lot better. So I might benefit from that, but honestly, I'm an outdoorsman. I like being outside. I like being on the water. I love the heat. So it's not going to be for me. But just saying, if that is a big problem, if you have a respiratory condition, the thicker air and the water in the air may affect you a little bit differently than you might have hoped. So now, guys, it's time to jump into my number 6 of the 8 negatives before moving here to Vero Beach, and that is you have driving styles from all around the world or all around the country. So if you are used to kind of zipping and zagging around your little town where you're from, and you move down here and you want to do the same thing, or you're an aggressive driver, you're coming from New York City, and it's take no prisoners, cut in front of people, cut people off, put the middle finger up in the air to the guy who's behind you. You know, we get some of that too. You know, it's not as often because our traffic is a lot less busy and a lot more tamed in those bigger cities. But if you're bringing those habits down here, listen, you got to cut it back because things are a lot more laid back, a lot more relaxed. But we'll notice whenever season comes and they have that pent up energy of being where they're from and the way that they're used to driving and the take no prisoners attitude whenever they're doing their thing and they're driving behind their car. Trust me, you're gonna want to slow it down, but we've noticed some things whenever you come down here that the driving gets a little bit more aggressive, that it gets a little bit more congested on the roads, and the driving styles from all over the country start to show themselves when you see those license plate tags from other states. So please, guys, just remember Vero Beach is a very laid-back town. You just want to relax, enjoy yourselves, take a casual drive to the beach no matter where you are. If you're way out west towards 95, it's still going to be a 15-minute drive to the beach. So don't feel like you need to cut around anyone, zigzag in and out of the lanes, and cut people off and stop your car to make a turn 3 or 4 lanes over. Don't do that. Just relax, take the next turn. Like I was saying before, do the next U-turn. Do everyone else a favor and just keep things cordial on the road. And maybe we can all get together and do this thing the right way. All right, guys, so now it's time to jump into the number 5 of the 8 negatives that you should know before moving to Vero Beach. And that is, we have wildlife. Yes, we have the Florida wildlife here in Vero Beach. It is located in the state of Florida, so we have a lot of things that you might not have where you're from. So we've got the gators, we've got some coyotes, snakes, jellyfish, sharks, and bobcats. Yes, we've got it all here, but listen, it is not as big of a deal as a lot of people would think. I've gotten the funniest phone calls, and if this is you, I'm sorry, but I've been getting some really funny phone calls about, oh my God, I have a 30-pound dog, or I have a 10, 15-pound dog, and I'm gonna be moving into a neighborhood that has a pond in the middle. What am I gonna do about all these gators and all these alligators living in the pond? They're just gonna come up and they're gonna snatch Fido and it's gonna be the worst day in the world. Listen, I know those stories get out, but honestly, whenever a gator gets into your residential pond, it's usually removed in like the first day or two. And when they do get in there, I'm talking little guys, maybe this big, couple feet that big, and it'll happen maybe once a year, I've heard. So I used to live on a place up in Orlando. Now you want to talk about gators. I live next to Lake Jessup, and if you don't know about Lake Jessup, then go ahead and Google that sucker and let me know how many gators you think I ran into on a daily basis. So I lived in a residential neighborhood with a pond that was just right across the street. It was actually built on the swampland that's connected to Lake Jessup. We might have seen maybe 1 or 2 in the 6 months that we've been there living next to Lake Jessup, because we had a fence over our neighborhood. Here in Vero Beach, you don't have those big, highly populated areas with gators just sitting there ready to kind of go in and out between the residential ponds of where you live. You might get 1 or 2 a year, and usually the walkways are so far away from the pond, you'll see them just sunbathing. They mind their own business. They don't get in your way, but just call the animal control. They'll be there in a day or 2 to pick up the gator if you do see one. But honestly, it's not as big of a deal as what people make it out to be, that the gators are coexisting and living in the same area that you're living in. It just doesn't happen. They're rarely there. They're usually just in the swamplands. That's down in Okeechobee type of thing, or up in Lake Jessup, or in the mixtures of the lakes in Central Florida. When you get closer to the coast, there's definitely not as many that you have to deal with. Now, when it comes to sharks, yes, we are on the Atlantic coast. We're in the middle of Florida. It's where the tropics begin. So you will be seeing a lot of spinner sharks whenever you're sitting out on the beach. If you're just relaxing, having a cold drink, and looking out to the horizon, you might see a shark just jump out of the water, do a couple spins, land back in. Yes, those are what we call spinner sharks, and they are here. There are also bull sharks, but if you want to do a little Google research on when the last shark attack was here in Vero, honestly, you're not going to find a lot. Maybe we get 1 or 2 shark bites every couple years. Honestly, it's just not that big of a deal as what other people think it is when going into the ocean. You have nothing to be scared of. But if you want to go into the jellyfish, yes, we do have a little bit of an issue with man-o-war jellyfish washing up to the beach. You don't want to step on those guys. A lot of the times they're still alive and those tentacles can still get you. So keep your head down whenever you're walking the beach, or maybe just come up a little bit further inland and walk the sand there. You won't have to worry about anything. As far as the tide comes up, if the tide comes up all the way to this point, you can walk as much as you want right here and not have anything to worry about. It's only whenever you're on part of the shore where they're washing up and they're coming up ashore, they will dry out. They won't be able to sting you after, several hours probably after they die. They won't have the same effect that they would if they're still alive. But they're still there. We have an issue with it. Every beach on the east coast of Florida has an issue with it. There's certain times of year where they get a little bit more populated than not. but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Just keep your head down, make sure you don't step on them. They're blue, they're hard to miss. That's the good thing about it. They're definitely not the color of the sand, so you have nothing to worry about there. But yes, we do have a jellyfish problem, and the rest of the wildlife, you do need to know before moving down here what to expect, or just come down here and just learn to adapt to what we have. If you want to make Vero Beach your home, you can learn to kind of work with these pros and cons. All right, guys, so now it's time to jump into number 4, my 8 negatives. And the number 4 is there is no big box stores, or there are some big box stores. We have the Publix, we have the Walmart, but we don't have, and we also have a Sam's Club, but we don't have the Costco. I've said this a million times in my previous videos. We don't have the Costco's, we don't have the Whole Foods, and that we don't have the Trader Joe's that a lot of places have, and not the bigger cities here in Florida also have. So, but we do have a lot of smaller, more boutique style of farmers markets. We've got the Fresh Market here in Vero Beach. That's more of the Whole Foods. If you're looking for Whole Foods, I'd recommend the Fresh Market. If you're looking for a Costco, yes, I understand it's not the same thing, but if buying in bulk is important to you, then the Sam's Club right next to Walmart is good for you too. And then Publix is our #1 shopping center. I can get everything that you possibly need from Publix as far as groceries go. That's our biggest one. We've got 7, maybe even 8, an 8th one coming up here pretty soon. So yes, we don't have the big box stores that you're used to, and we don't have the Whole Foods, the Trader Joe's, and the Costco's, but we've got our Publix, which is our southeast grocer. We've got Winn-Dixie's, which is also another thing that you can only find here in the southeast, and the other locally more boutique, smaller owned restaurants and grocery stores here as well. All right, guys, so now it's time to jump into my number 3 of the 8 negatives, and that is allergies. So this guy right here is my best friend here in Vero Beach. The reason is allergies tend to go a little bit more nuts whenever you're in the tropics. So like I said before, tropics just began here in Vero Beach, so a lot of places won't have the same type of plants and wildlife that we have here. They won't have the same type of grass. Heck, you might even not have any allergies where you're from and then move down here and then you're just going crazy and don't even know why. So that Nasacort, do it every night, and honestly, it's been my best friend. It used to have to get a prescription for it, not paid, not endorsed by them, but it has just been the only thing that works for me. And not to get too far into how Nasacort works, but it definitely takes about a week or 2 for it to get accustomed in your system. It doesn't affect my sleep. I know a lot of allergy medications can get you more speedy, but I haven't noticed that with Nasacort, so I've been sticking with it for a good portion of a year now. And honestly, like I said, my best friend. So I know that was a quick one. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a tip if you are gonna move here, but you have allergies or are prone to allergies. But now let's dive into number 2, and the number 2 is, this is not always the sunshine state, believe it or not. So during the summer, we get storms, and a lot of storms. I mean, a lot of rain, a lot of lightning, and it just comes through here. That is just one part of living in the tropics that you're gonna have to deal with, is that during the summer, we get a lot of rain and a lot of storms, and sometimes, yes, even hurricanes. So I recommend whenever you move back down here to get maybe a little closet or a little storage thing full of a couple water bottles, or not just a couple, I mean enough to make you maybe last a week or 2 for your house, and some canned supplies, some canned food where you can just crack it open, pour it in a bowl. Who cares if it's heated up or not? You're just doing this to kind of get through the night. Get some hurricane supplies if you feel on camping out. If you have the means to do so, just board up your house and then treat it like a mini vacation. Go up north, go hang out in either in the Carolinas, which I know sometimes hurricanes can affect those as well. But if the path is not pushing it there and it's just going to be going further west and cut through the middle of Florida, then maybe take a trip up to the Carolinas, go to Georgia, hit up Tennessee, go to Nashville, hang out, and just treat it like a mini vacation if you have the means to do so. But if you want to bunker down, camp out, if you're living further out west when you're not in a mandatory evacuation zone, then yeah, have some supplies ready, and maybe you can have a hurricane party, get some beer. Another thing I want to point out too is if you want to buy a generator to keep the power on in your house, maybe power up a refrigerator, TV, if you have one big enough to run an air conditioner, that would be great too. But don't try buying one when a hurricane has been announced it's on its way. I would recommend buying one during the winter time whenever the generators sales are a little bit lower here in Florida. They're just kind of sitting on the shelf. There's nothing really, real advantage to having one. So that's whenever the market is a lot less competitive. But if a hurricane gets announced and you don't have a generator yet, but that is something that you want to do. You want to camp out at your house. You want to have the generator running after the storm makes its way through and the power's out. You're going to have a harder time getting one, and you're going to be spending a lot more money on one unless you can get it at a big box store. If you can't get it at a big box store, which trust me, that line will be a mile long to do so, then you're going to have to go to the used market, and people will take advantage of the fact that there is a storm coming and charge you an arm and a leg for a generator that should only run $500 or $600. You're going to be paying over $1,000 easily for it. So that's just number 2 of my 8 negatives. Let's go ahead and run into the number 1. All right, guys. So number 1 really only pertains to just lately and just recently. And the number 1 problem is if you want new construction, you're going to be waiting quite a while before you can get into that new house. So a lot of new construction builders, they're backed up. They will tell you, yes, hey, maybe you can be into this house by April or May. And right now it's December. I wouldn't believe them. I wouldn't put my money on it, because built into those builder contracts, they technically have 2 years that they can have to finish that home for you, and you're just sitting there waiting, saying, what the heck is going on? I just sold my house. I'm staying at an Airbnb. I have nowhere to go, and this builder is not giving me any updates. They're not telling me the reasons as to why construction is being held back so long. I've heard reasons as to window shortages, so I'll have new construction homes under contract for people, and drywall's going up before the windows get put there, and because they just passed an ordinance that allows them to use plywood, so they'll just nail in plywood and continue building the house on the inside with the drywall, and then when the new windows come in, they'll do it. That used to hold up construction a lot, so that's a big milestone that we've reached here. Now I have a client who was supposed to be closing a few days ago on December 15th, and right now it's looking like it's going to be March or April, the middle of March or April, whenever they'll be able to close. So yes, things are being held up by several months, and I do work with a lot of people that want to move into new construction. So yes, that's a big problem. It's a big issue. And if you want to do the same thing, you want to move down here and you want to be in a brand new home, take the closing date with a grain of salt. Don't plan your whole entire trip or your whole entire plan around that closing date. Prepare for extensions of 2 months, 3 months, even as far as 4 months from what they quote you, because there are shortages. There's not much that they can do to prevent the shortages. Right now, I think the main thing that's holding up my current clients right now are cabinets. We're having a big shortage of cabinets from this particular builder. So that is my number 1 negative about moving here to Vero Beach, but that is honestly global. I think it's a countrywide thing, honestly, too. If you want to have a new construction, there are shortages. The shortages are not new news to a lot of you, but just please be prepared if you want to build a custom home or even build a spec home, that they might not have all the materials and the construction materials needed to get that closing date to where you need it, even within a few weeks. It's more so going to be a few months out. So please think about that before signing up a new construction home, and be prepared and be ready to adapt and make a new plan whenever that time comes around for the closing date. So thank you again, guys. Thank you for tuning into another video here about moving to Vero Beach and staying with me throughout these 8 negatives that you need to know. If you have any questions or concerns about moving down here to Vero Beach, please don't hesitate to give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, because I promise I'll have your back before moving to Vero Beach. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Thank you again. Bye-bye.